One in 13 African Americans carry the sickle cell trait, and more than 100,000 Americans suffer from sickle cell disease. Hello, I'm Jordan Lynch.
And I'm Sheridyn Mickles, your host for this episode of Helping Hands. On today's show, we'll learn more about the sickle cell trait and about how sickle cell disease affects the victims and their families.
Then we'll hear about the Sickle Cell Parade and the festival to see how you can get involved, so stay tuned. We'll be right back with Helping Hands.
People with sickle cell are often in intense pain, and they have a high risk of problems with vital organs and infections. Here to discuss the effects of sickle cell and how both patients and their families cope with the disease, our Deputy Director, Ms. Yvonne Donald. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So how does sickle cell affect people in general?
Well, first let me let you know that sickle cell is a genetically inherited disease, passed down through the genes of the parents. And when a child inherits two sickle genes, they have what we call full-blown sickle cell anemia. And those individuals are born with red blood cells that, instead of being nice and round, supple, and easily traveling through the tiny arteries and veins within the body, they are sickle-shaped, or shaped like a half banana, a crescent moon. And they're hard, they're rigid, and they're sticky. And they get trapped in those tiny arteries and veins. And when this happens, it cuts off the circulation of blood and oxygen to every cell, tissue, and organ in the body. So needless to say, it can cause numerous complications in the body. It can cause a stroke, it can affect the kidneys, it can affect the liver, it can affect the spleen. It can affect their energy levels because they're not getting the adequate oxygen that they need to survive on a daily basis. So there are just numerous ways that it can affect an individual with sickle cell disease. But it's a chronic illness, and readily can affect a person on a daily basis, sometimes unexpectedly.
What are some symptoms of sickle cell? Like, what can we notice that we'd be like, hey, maybe I need to go out and get tested?
Well, actually, an individual with sickle cell disease is tested at birth. So generally, they know it at birth. And so they actually grow up with this disease. But some of the symptoms is jaundice of the eyes. When a fever spikes, they're affected even like we're going into fall. When weather changes, temperature changes, if they jump into a cold pool of water, all of these can affect an individual with sickle cell disease. So on a daily basis, there's just numerous entities that can affect a person with sickle cell disease.
And how is it diagnosed? Like you said, at birth, how is it diagnosed at birth?
It's diagnosed at birth. At birth, every child since 1987 here in Columbia, South Carolina, well, in South Carolina overall, is tested at birth for an array of genetic disorders. That became, I guess, in all 50 states in about 2006. Okay. So once a child is born and they're tested, that child's physician will let the parents know that that child has full-blown sickle cell disease.
And for a kid who has sickle cell, can they participate in sports and just do the everyday things that most kids would do, or does that hinder their ability to be able to go out and do things like that?
I'm not saying they can't do it. I am saying that there may be some physical entities that may prevent that from happening, or may slow them down a bit. But with the advice of their doctor, they can, monitor themselves and do things in a way that they can perform in sports. As I said, it affects the red blood cells, which directly affects our oxygen levels. So, of course, if they get overexerted, it could actually, be have a dire effect on the disease itself. But these things can be measured, they can be monitored, and a person with sickle cell disease, in actuality, however their body permits them, can do sports. In fact, they can do anything. We often say that a person can have sickle cell, but it doesn't have to have them. So it's really according to the level of difficulties that this person is incurring with the disease. Some individuals have a milder course because there's different types of sickle cell, with SS being the most serious type.
What health complications are associated? You talked about those physical entities. What health complications are associated with sickle cell?
Well, they can have a stroke, they could have acute chest syndrome, it can affect the spleen, it can affect the liver. Oftentimes they have to have blood transfusions, why it's so important for us to give blood on a regular basis. It can affect the joints, and sometimes when they don't have a good flow of blood, they end up having hip replacements at different times in life. So it really can affect just an array and it can create an array of complications throughout their lifetimes, with sometimes as they get older, those complications becoming worse.
And could you tell us the difference between like the sickle cell trait and the sickle cell disease?
Yes, a person with sickle cell trait inherited one sickle gene, or S gene. An individual with sickle cell disease inherited two. An individual with sickle cell trait does not have the same symptoms as a person with sickle cell disease. In fact, that's why it's so important to be tested for sickle cell trait and to know whether or not you're a sickle cell trait carrier, because two individuals with sickle cell trait, when they have a child, there's a 25% chance that that child could have full-blown sickle cell disease. So knowing your trait status is important. But because those symptoms with sickle cell trait are not readily visibly manifested unless that person is overexerted, is in high or low pressure situations like scuba diving or high mountain climbing, a person can live their entire life and not know they have sickle cell trait. And that's why it's so important to be tested.
So you said they could live their whole life without going to the doctor. When should you go to the doctor?
Without knowing they have trait. Yes. And that's why it's so important to be tested at birth and to be aware of it and to get education at birth, because it's important to know this as you're growing up. It's important to know your genealogy. Mm-hmm. But going to the doctor is important, just regular visits. You mean a person with sickle cell disease, right? Yes, a person with sickle cell disease needs to adhere to regular doctor visits, and when temperatures spike or when they're not feeling well, it's very important to either go to the doctor or the ER if necessary.
And can you tell us about James R. Clark and his story?
Oh, yes. Dr. James R. Clark was a historic pioneer in the field of sickle cell disease. And in fact, he made it his mission for individuals to be aware of the facts that surround sickle cell trait and how that can lead to full-blown sickle cell disease. But he was a pioneer in the field, treated numerous patients, many of those patients who remained our clients after his death. And he just was determined to put the cause of sickle cell disease in the forefront. And in Columbia, here in Lancaster, Sumter and Florence, and all of our offices, we've tried very hard to strive to keep that in the forefront, that education, that awareness, the need and necessity of knowing your sickle cell trait status, knowing how to care for a child or an individual or an adult with sickle cell disease. So we've tried our best to maintain his legacy, because he really played an important factor in raising awareness and education about both sickle cell trait and sickle cell disease.
So what is the mission of the James R. Clark Foundation?
Well, our mission is to epitomize the social, psychological, and physiological well-being of individuals with sickle cell disease, and to decrease the incidence of sickle cell disease through education, screening, and raising awareness within the community.
Yes, ma'am. So before James R. Clark put awareness out there of sickle cell, what did it look like for these people? Were Was people not really aware of anything? Was it before him? Because you said he was a pioneer. Was it?
Well, I guess you could say back in the 70s and the 60s, before there was testing at birth, parents didn't know that their child had sickle cell. So you had a little baby that was just crying and in agony, and parents not knowing what to do. And in those days, the manifestation was usually hand and foot syndrome. Their little hands and feet would swell up. And then when they would take them to the doctor, you know, after various testing, they would find out that that child had sickle cell disease. But fortunately, because we do have testing at birth, parents don't have to go through that agonizing stretch of time of not knowing. And so it's very important, again, to know your sickle cell trait status, to know whether or not you have full-blown sickle cell disease, and thankfully now both tests are done at birth.
If your child has sickle cell, what should you do?
Well, first, become educated. You should educate yourself about this disease and find you a good hematologist, a good primary care provider, and take the necessary steps to do as much as you can to help that child navigate through life. Sometimes with children with sickle cell disease, sometimes they miss school days because of the onset of sickle cell trait crisis. So oftentimes parents have to come up with a plan of action. And they have to readily be able to carry out that plan of action. But sometimes a child's course with sickle cell disease is not going to be as easy as a child who may not have sickle cell disease, because they're going to have days that they're going to miss school. There are going to be times when that mom may not be able to go to work. So it affects not just that child with sickle cell, but it affects the entire family. So oftentimes keeping a plan of action in place is crucial, and just knowing early on that you're going to run into some situations and occurrences that you may not have with a child that doesn't have sickle cell disease.
And maybe for older people who weren't tested at birth, like, is a screening dangerous, and can it cause harm to anyone?
No, it's just a simple finger prick. A simple finger prick, just like you do with diabetes. And we send our tests to DHEC, and then we get the results back. Again, testing started here in Columbia and in South Carolina in 1987. So those who were born before 1987 may not be aware of their sickle cell trait status, or most times you know if you have sickle cell disease because of the pain and the various crises that can occur. But if you have any doubt, come to our festival and get tested on September 28th.
Well, thank you for being on the show. Next, we'll learn about a couple big events taking place in Lancaster supporting the people suffering from sickle cell. So stay tuned.
The James R. Clark Memorial Sickle Cell Foundation works to support people suffering from sickle cell, and a fun event is coming to Lancaster Saturday, September 28th. Here to tell us more about the event are satellite workers Ms. Harlean Carter and Doris Ealey. Welcome to the show. So I'd just like to start off, what's the purpose of the Sickle Cell Festival?
The purpose of the Sickle Cell Festival is to provide education and awareness and support in the community regarding sickle cell.
All right, and so what are some of the things going on at the festival?
Oh, we have planned a full day of activities. We will kick off the festival with having a disability awareness parade at 2 o'clock. And it is to basically bring all persons together to support any type of disability so they can be supportive of each other. At 3 o'clock hour, we will be having the festival. We will be having activities such as horse rides, pony rides. We'll be having a petting zoo there. We'll be having face painting, any activities that you will most likely see at any festival, we will have there. We will close out the night with a fireworks show. It's going to be a great day with lots of activities and food for the entire community.
Can you tell me your favorite part about working the Sickle Cell Festival?
Just seeing all the community come together from all over the county, South Carolina, North Carolina, just coming together, bringing a spirit of love and support to this event.
Can you? Oh, go ahead.
And have you ever done this festival before?
This will be our 8th year.
8 year. And how successful was it in the past?
Every year it keeps growing. We are actually moving the festival this year downtown on Main Street. The parade will be on Main Street, but the festival will take place on the 200 block of Catawba Street. So we're excited about that.
Yes, ma'am.
And we hope to draw other crowds in, because normally all the events they have on Catawba Street, Main Street, so we are hoping to draw the crowds that usually attend those events as well.
What is the fundraiser goal you have set for this event?
The festival is not, the purpose is not for, say, fundraising. It's to bring the community together to provide educational awareness. That's our goal versus fundraising. We have been blessed to have the City of Lancaster to sponsor the festival for us in most part. And so that's the reason why we are able to do what we are able to do in providing the festival without fundraising.
And moreover, at the festival, we will have self-help organizations, so different organizations and auxiliaries throughout not only our county, but other counties that will come in, and they'll set up their booth with information about the services that they provide. And we also hope to have survey takers just to see how much people really do know about sickle cell disease, sickle cell trait, offer testing, genetic testing for those that wish to have it. So it's really huge in that there will be a lot of information available for those that participate and attend the festival.
Absolutely.
And could you explain to me what the kickoff and balloon ceremony is all about?
That is a unique way for the foundation to provide education and awareness. We have different balloons that represent the sickle cell trait, sickle cell disease. We also have a disability balloon that would represent those that have a disability, as well as honor, recognize those that we have lost in the past. So it is a very touching, beautiful part of the event where we come together and release the balloons for the ceremony.
Can you tell me about the live entertainment at the festival?
Oh, wow. Okay, so this year we will have Earth, Wind, and Fire tribute band from Pennsylvania that will be coming to do what they do the most and providing the entertainment. We also have a Elvis tribute impersonator that will be coming from Georgia that will be joining us, as well as I can't go without saying that we also have local talent that will be participating in the parade, performing in the parade, as well as at the festival.
On stage.
Yes, on stage. So we are so excited about the entertainment this year.
So it should be lively and popping, as
Yes.
the young people say.
So like so when y'all first did the festival, all the way up through the 8 years that y'all have done it, what's like the growth that y'all have seen, people showing up? Has it been like exponential, like a lot more people coming and just something that's growing each year?
Absolutely, especially from like other counties and other areas, North Carolina, South Carolina. We've seen them as far as, you know, somebody may be visiting and they heard about the event and they will come. That's like from other areas, Georgia, coming along with the performer, with the artists or what have you. So we have grown over the years. I think last year was 480. I think that dropped in to, you know, to take part of, to be a part of the event, and we're expecting even much more this year.
And not only that, after the events, we also receive testimonials, if you will,
Yes.
from people that have attended. They tell us about what they've learned in terms of the dynamics of sickle cell disease and sickle cell trait. And we've had individuals that have actually been tested that have been made aware that either themselves or their child or children carry the sickle cell trait, and they did not know.
Right.
And so that's definitely a benefit for the community at large, because one of the biggest goals is for individuals to know what their sickle cell status is.
Last year, we totally ran out of testing strips. So this year, we plan to be prepared just in case we have other people to come in, more people to come in and want to test. I would also like to state here that the entertainment, all the activities that we have is pretty much just bells and whistles to get individuals to come and to attend the parade and the festival, to get them there, to provide the education and awareness to them so that we can encourage them to test if they don't know if they have the sickle cell trait or anything. So, and it has been, we have been successful in going that route in order to encourage people to attend.
How can more people, local people, get involved?
Just to become educated. If you don't know what your sickle cell status is, to make it a goal to test and educate your family, friends, be the face, be the voice in the community and in your family for sickle cell.
Yes, ma'am.
And so for people who can't attend the event, how could we help the foundation? Could we donate somewhere? Is there another option we could do to just help the organization?
The website, you can go on the website, it's Sickle Cell, sicklecellfoundation.org. You can go on that website and donate, or contact the office, my office, 803-416-2640
Yes, ma'am.
to make a donation.
How can people help to encourage awareness?
Once you learn, pass it on. Yes, it's about teaching.
Okay.
To whom does it provide service to?
To everyone in the community.
Yes, ma'am.
To every individual should know about sickle cell, how it works, who it affects, how to prevent. So it should be everybody should be educated about what sickle cell disease is.
Yes.
Other than the Sickle Cell Festival, can you tell me about other events you sponsored throughout the year?
Yes, we also have a Sickle Cell Awareness Day and sponsors luncheon where we come in and we invite sponsors and just community other organizations to come in, and we provide education and awareness at that event as well as give out awards to thank them for their support.
Is that also held here in Lancaster?
It is, yes. And we also have a Dining with the Stars gala for sickle cell. This will be our second year of having that event. It is absolutely
breathtaking, I would say.
Yeah, just breathtaking. It's an opportunity for individuals to come dressed in gowns and just have a good time. The entertainment is something to look forward to, and we have been very successful in that as well.
We'd just like to thank y'all for being on the show, Miss Ealey and Miss Carter.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
That's all the time we have for today's show. We'd like to thank all of our guests and viewers for supporting us as we strive for a better community through helping hands. If you have any comments or suggestions, contact us at learn.tv@lcsd.k12.sc.us. You can also find our content on YouTube. Just search Learn TV Lancaster. For Sheridyn Mickles, I'm Jordan Lynch, and remember, we all are given a pair of helping hands.